Hello, friends and family over there on YouTube, all photographers, enthusiasts, and newbies alike. This is Robert Hamm with Robert Hamm Photography, and today I'm talking about my top 5 considerations when hiring a wedding photographer. So this definitely is aimed at the person who's looking to hire a wedding photographer, but it's also aimed at those professionals out there that may just be getting their businesses moving. They'd like another perspective on what it means to be a wedding photographer and how to go about getting some new business. So if you're up for that, stick around. We've got 5 awesome tips coming. Welcome back. Tip number 1 is real simple. To get a storybook wedding, you have to have a photographer with you all day. It's really that simple. And this is important because photography is unfortunately one of the few places that people try to skimp on a wedding. Let's think about this scenario for a second. A cake's going to cost $1,000, maybe $800. Each person's place setting for the reception meal that's catered is going to be maybe $55 per plate, maybe more. That's on the low side, by the way. If you're at a location or a venue that's going to provide all the accoutrements and decorations for you, that could be as high as $170 a plate because it's going to include the linens, the place settings, and of course the ambience for it as well. And then you think about your dress, you think about the actual chapel, you got to pay the preacher. It's really easy to say, you know what, photographers are too expensive. I just need 4 hours of photography. And I think this is a big pitfall because when you only have 4 hours for your wedding, and we're assuming that you're going to have a regular wedding, that, a 45-minute service, maybe an hour-long service, as well as, a reception at another location. When things like this happen and you're actually planning a big wedding, even the small weddings, even if it's more personal, there's only 25 or 30 people there, 4 hours is not a lot of time. And it's definitely not a lot of time to get you that storybook wedding that you want. And here's why. If your wedding starts at noon, and let's say you've contracted a photographer for 4 hours, then that means that to get the preparation shots of the bride having her veil put on by mom, and someone stitching up or lacing up her back, and a little bit of beauty makeup and things, the looking in the mirror and out the window poses, to get those poses, guess what? Photographer's got to start an hour earlier than that, at an absolute minimum. So that means that if that takes place, the photographer arrives at 11. 11 to 12 is 1 hour. If you've got, let's say, a 30-minute wedding, you've got from 12 to 12:30. But most weddings don't start on time. They're usually 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So let's say it starts at 12:15. By the time your wedding ceremony is concluded and you walk out the door, you've already used up an hour and 45 minutes of your 2 hours. Let's try cramming all of your traditional portraiture, your family portraiture, and then a wedding reception with the garter belt, toasts, first dances. Let's try to fit all that in another 2 hours and 15 minutes. Guys, it's almost impossible. Now, there are some reasons why people would think that skimping on the photography, just a few hours I just need some photography. The first myth is, all of my family's going to be there. We're going to have them take pictures later. Well, that may be true. I've got plenty of cameras around here, but your family's not going to come out with the different lenses. They're not going to have, and I'm not even bringing out the whole collection. They're not going to bring out all the different cameras. Plus, there's a couple cameras over there. Let's talk about flash. Your family's not set up. Your family's not used. This gear right here isn't even all the gear for one bag that I carry with me. And we've already got 2 cameras, 1 interchangeable lens, 1 fixed 2.0. I shoot the Fuji system. I love it. We've got 3 flash already. We've got 1 specific high-speed sync flash. This one's great because it's got a leaf shutter. That means I can sync up to 1/4000th of a second at f8 or 1/2000th of a second or at f2 of your portraiture outside in the daylight sun. It's also got a built-in ND filter. Your family's phones aren't going to have that. And your Uncle Bob, who's a photographer on the weekend, he doesn't have this gear. Most likely he doesn't have this gear. Guess what? If he has this gear, he's probably set up and considering starting a photography business. But even if he does, he still doesn't have the experience that it takes in order to maneuver forward. So that's a big pitfall. Don't think you can just put little cameras on the table and have your friends and family take photos, because it does not work the way you hope it will. It works. They'll do it for you, but it definitely doesn't work the way you expect it to. Okay, so we talked about that. My caution here is that in order to get a storybook wedding, you need a photographer that's going to be with you all day long. And guys, that costs money. You have to pay for that. And let me just give you one little piece of advice that I like to think about, and it's this. If you're lucky, you're not going to see your food twice. I say that jokingly. You're going to eat your cake once. You're going to have a cake topper or some cupcakes left over for next year. The DJ, he's not going to make you a DVD or a CD of your music. The only person in your wedding that is producing something that lasts a literal lifetime is your photographer and his album. That's it. Okay? It's this. Your photographer is the only one that's going to give you something that's going to last years. Literally. So it's probably the best place to not skimp. Now, that doesn't mean you should break the bank paying your photographer. Things do need to be kept in reason. But it does mean that if you need 8 hours of photography, you should probably find a way to pay for it. Or find a way to make it happen. Because if not, you're going to end up being rushed. So that's my tips for you for Storybook Wedding Tip number 1. I hope you find it useful.